solve the following equation. Write your solutions in a simplified exact format. Now, the word exact, in case you've never heard it before, has a very specific mathematical meaning. When someone tells you to leave your numbers in an exact format, they are telling you, do not put your number into a calculator and find its decimal approximation. You can think of the word as exact as meaning no decimals. So, with that in mind, let's try and find the solutions to the following equation. Now, looking at this equation, if I imagine what I would get if I multiplied this entire expression out on the left, I know for sure that this expression is going to have an x squared in it, because if I FOIL, at some point I'm going to be multiplying together x times x. So I can anticipate that I think this is probably going to be a quadratic equation, which means that I think I am probably going to need to use quadratic formula to solve this equation. I'll call it QF for short. But in order to use quadratic formula, let's recall that quadratic formula said that the solutions to the equation ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 our x is equal to negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, which means that before we can even use quadratic formula, we have to prep our equation so that it's in the correct format. Before we can even use our quadratic formula, we need to make sure that that's 0 on one side, and we have an expression in standard form on the other side. So before we even use quadratic formula, let's do some work to rewrite our given equation so that it's in the right format. Step 1, prep the equation. Alright, our equation was 2x minus 1, x plus 3 equals 7. And let me start by distributing some of these products. I'll distribute 2 first, and that gives me quantity 2x minus 2 times the quantity x plus 3. And then if I FOIL that, if I distribute that 2 by 2 product, then I will get 2 times x, or 2x squared. 2 times x times 3, which is 6x, negative 2 times x, and negative 2 times 3. So all in total, after combining like terms, 2x squared plus 4x minus 6 equals 7. But we need the right-hand side to equal 0. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides to give me the equation 2x squared plus 4x, and then minus 6 minus 7, in total negative 13. Okay, so now our equation is in the correct format. We have an expression in standard form on the left-hand side, and we have that important 0 on the right-hand side. And now that we have prepped our equation, we can see the true values of a, b, and c. A, the coefficient of x squared, is 2, b is 4, and c is negative 13. Step 2. Now that we are finished with our preparations, we can actually use the quadratic formula. Which says that our solutions are going to be equal to negative b. B is 4, so negative 4, either plus or minus the square root of 4 squared minus 4 times the a value times the c value all over 2 times a. Okay, now with this, we have finished finding our solutions. But step number 3, we have to remember that we were asked to simplify our solutions. So that will be the final step of this problem. Step number 3, let's clean these solutions up. Okay, so first let's get started on the easy stuff, which is calculating the values of all of these different numbers in the problem. We have our discriminant. That's that number under the square root. 4 squared is 16. Let's see, 4 times 2 is 8. So the last thing that I need to figure out is 8 times 13. And if you're like me and you're just not in the mood for some mental arithmetic, we can do it on our calculator. 8 times 13 is 104. So minus minus gives us positive 104. And in total, it looks like we have 120. Okay. Now, having figured out what is this number under the square root, we can also have a look at our denominator. 2 times 2, that's equal to 4. So x can be equal to minus 4 plus minus the square root of 120 all over 4. Okay. But there's potentially more work that can be done because we haven't yet simplified the square root of 120. So let's work on that, and let's start by factoring 120 to see if we can find any pairs of common factors. Let's see, 120, 2 goes into that, leaving 60. 2 goes into that, leaving 30. 2 goes into that, leaving 15, and that's 3 and 5. So the only pair of common factors is a pair of 2's, and no other factors here can find a partner. So the square root of 120, if I bring out that pair of 2's, turns into 2 on the outside, and then 2 times 3 times 5, the leftover singles on the inside. Negative 4 plus or minus 2, square root of 30 all over 4. Now finally, let's factor the numerator and reduce this fraction, just as we did in the previous examples from 9.1 and 9.2. Negative 4 and 2 both have a 2 in common. 2 over 4 can be reduced since 2 and 4 have a 2 in common, and that leaves me with a final simplified answer of negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 30 all over 2.